Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head over to America once again. We're going to revisit Colorado, which is one of the great American beer states. You know, it was California and Colorado who really got their beer over here to Europe first. And for this one we're going to visit quite a long established brewery, but one that I've never reviewed anything from. So very curious about this beer. So for this one we are going to go to Avery Brewing Company for the first time, and they are from Boulder in Colorado. So this one is called the Wheat Ease. They're describing it as a hazy wheat India Pale Ale, and it comes in at 6% ABV, and it also says happy 25th anniversary to Oliver Twist. But yeah, should be quite an interesting beer, this one. This was one of the ones that we got in the small partiers here in Systembolaget in Sweden on the 19th of October 2018. So should be a really good beer. Most of the beers that we get through the small partiers tend to be very, very good. We do have a few issues with some of the American ones because the import companies hold on to them for quite a bit of time before they actually make it into the shops, but hopefully that's not the case with this one. So looking forward to this, looking forward to my first beer from Avery Brewing Company, and as always I hope you guys enjoy my take on this beer. So anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Avery Brewing Company. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, like I said. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the American beers that I've reviewed for you. That's constantly being added to, and as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Avery Brewing Company, on to my brewery notes then. So Avery Brewing were founded back in 1993, and they're based in Boulder in Colorado, like I mentioned at the start of the video. But the company was started by Adam Avery, who was only 27 at the time, and his father Larry, who was actually just about to retire. So Adam was a very talented homebrewer, and his dad was very keen to start up a small business, just to kind of keep himself occupied basically. But this led to Adam actually persuading Larry that he should invest all of his retirement money in the brewery, and thankfully for them it worked. But initially this brewery was just a very small operation, and it remained so for a good number of years actually. But in 2015 they opened their new brewery, which I believe they spent $27 million on. It's a big 67,000 square foot facility. I'm not sure how that converts into meters, into square meters. I would guess it's somewhere around 19,000 square meters for those of us that use normal measurements, not the American ones. But this one is capable of producing around 500,000 American barrels of beer per year, so it is a pretty big facility. But in 2017 they entered into a partnership with Mahu San Miguel, who bought a 30% stake in the company, and that same group also own a 30% stake in Founders Brewing Company up in Grand Rapids in Michigan as well. But they say that this is going to be one of the things. They're technically not defined as a craft brewery anymore, but you know, there's a lot of debate on this and things like that. The whole sort of business thing, I prefer to just stay out of it. I just like drinking beer, to be honest with these. So these guys apparently technically are not a craft brewery anymore, but you know, it's all about the quality of the beer rather than anything else. But yeah, one of the bigger Colorado breweries that I've never reviewed actually. So yeah, I mean the big ones that we get over here, we get Ska Brewing Company, we get Avery, we get New Belgium as well. We also get Oscar Blues. Those are the main four that we get over here, and we get Great Divide as well. Actually, we do get the Great Divide beers too. That's probably the sort of main 5 Colorado breweries that we find over here. I might be missing one or two, but in Sweden those are the 5 that we do get here. But yeah, one of the other big Colorado breweries. If you haven't tried some of their beers, do have a look at them. But as I say, this is actually going to be my very first taste of one of their beers. I've just never got around to reviewing something from this brewery. So yeah, let's see how we get on with it then. So I'll just let you have a little look at the artwork of this one before we open it up. So as I said, this one is a 6% wheat IPA apparently. I'm not sure, can you call this a white IPA? I don't think there's much difference between these, but I'm guessing this one, not, you know, if it's just pure wheat in the malt base rather than using oats and dextrose and sugars and things like that, then I think it is technically a white IPA rather than a New England IPA. I believe that is the difference. When I checked out the Avery website earlier on, it said that there was an original version of this that was 5.6%, so I don't know if they've made this a bit stronger for the export market, because it does actually say on the label here, imported to Sweden by great brands, and I'm guessing that won't be on every label, so maybe it's a special batch they've brewed to send over here, and that's maybe why it's a little bit stronger rather. But it says on the side here, brewed with Rocky Mountain water, malted barley, malted wheat, hops and yeast. So yeah, should be interesting, this one. You can see there is the A, which is the Avery Brewing Company symbol, and there is the Avery Brewing bottle cap. And I was surprised at this because the Avery beers that I have seen before have been in cans rather than in bottles. So yeah, see how we get on with this then. But yeah, let's get it out and we'll get on with the tasting. Like I said, 6% wheat IPA. You can see nice little bit of smoke on the opening there, and we'll get it out and into the glass. You can smell some nice fruit off this one as you open it. We'll get a good little bit of head on this beer. There you go. Into my nice Amar Brewhouse glass, one of my favourite breweries over here in Scandinavia, just across the water in Copenhagen. But with this one, when you open it up, it's got a real lemon limey kind of quality to it. It said on the website that this one's brewed with experimental hops. It didn't say the names of the hops right enough, but really it's got this very kind of tropically, it's almost like a peachy apricot-y note, but there is a little bit of a limey quality in there as well, I think, which is quite interesting. Opens up and it really smells very, very juicy. So as you can see with this beer, and as you would kind of expect from I don't know, maybe you can call this an American wheat as well, a slightly hoppier version of a wheat beer, but you can see this one's poured a bright hazy yellow. If I put my fingers behind the glass there, you can see it is pretty hazy there. There's a solid, yeah, 2/3 of a finger of a frothy white head. It is a little bit bumpy, but mainly quite frothy. One or two big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones just heading up towards the bottom of that head there. But you know, overall, it does look very nice and pretty much what you would expect from an American wheat or a wheat IPA, basically. But yeah, it looks pretty nice. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then, and just see how we get on with this one. That's really interesting. I'm trying to think what hops would actually be in this, because it did say, as I say, it did say experimental hops. But yeah, the aroma in this one, very, very juicy, definitely leaning towards the tropical fruit sort of thing. When I was opening it up, I was thinking it was lime that was coming off this, but no, it's definitely more tropical than that. I want to say, yeah, there's a little bit of a kind of passion fruity note to it. A little bit of passion fruit. It's got quite a lot of apricot-y, kind of peachy type notes as well. I would definitely say apricot on this one. It really reminds me of these little yogurts that my mum used to give me in my lunchbox when I was about yay high. You know, it's apricot. I think there's a lot of apricot in this one. Maybe not quite sure. There's maybe a little tiny bit of mango in there, but I would stick with apricot, like I say. I think there's a wee bit of passion fruit in there. There is a little bit of a slightly darker tropical fruit note to this one, which is usually grapefruit or passion fruit. In this case, I think it's passion fruit. But yeah, maybe I don't know if there's a little bit of pineapple in there, but apricot is the fruit that's really jumping out at me in this one. As I say, a bit of passion fruit, a bit of mango, maybe a little touch of pineapple or something like that in there as well. And maybe there's just a little touch of a slightly lemony thing. There could be a little bit of a centennial or something in there as well. But when if it's saying it's experimental hops, then I don't think it's centennial, because that of course is quite a well-known hop. It's the one that gives you that lovely lemony, sherbety quality and quite a bit of a almost spicy floral note too. But in terms of the floral, grassy side of things with this beer, to me, there is a little bit of a kind of spicy floral note to it at the front of the nose, but then it just kind of thins out a little bit and becomes more grassy. On the malt base, you know, wheat all the way, you can smell it's got that nice big smooth wheaty note to it. I love the smell of wheat beers. I've never found that I can drink that many of them. I do find them quite heavy, which is kind of unusual considering it's considering that I've had quite a few Doppelbocks and things like that. I love German beer. But yeah, with this one, you can definitely smell a nice little bit of that wheaty quality to it. It is really interesting actually. But yeah, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this beer. before you get stuck into it. Lovely big wheaty notes. There's maybe a little touch of biscuit or something in there as well. But you know, overall, it does smell really nice. Pretty much as you would expect from an American wheat. But let's have a taste of this one then. So this one is the Wheaties, a hazy wheat IPA, as they've described it, from Avery Brewing Company over in Boulder in Colorado. My first taste of one of their beers. So let's get stuck in. Slàinte, skål. Yeah. It's interesting that. I'm just wondering, does it say a bottle date? Bottled on the looks like it actually says it's bottled on in August. So yeah, it's pretty fresh, this one. So yeah, it's been in the bottle about 2 months. So it still has a good little bit of its hoppy character. You know, really, you should be drinking these beers within the first month. And this is one of the things I've said, that the likes of great brands and Wicked Wine and stuff like that, they really need to get their backsides in gear when it comes to, and Systembolaget as well, they need to get their backsides in gear and get these beers out a little bit fresher. They shouldn't be sitting in the warehouse for more than a month. Definitely not. But with this beer, it's still held up pretty well, I will say that. But yeah, let's start with the malt base with this one then. It is pretty much as you would expect, so nice little bit of a kind of pale malty quality. You can feel that just blanket in the middle of your tongue. It becomes a little bit more noticeable when you move into the aftertaste. On top of that, you've got a nice sort of wheaty, bready note to this one. You can really pick out that nice wheat. You know, it almost has a little bit of that kind of banana clovey sort of thing coming out of it a little bit later. You can really feel that just in the middle of your tongue as you move further into the aftertaste. And I think there's a tiny little bit of an almost biscuity flavour for that, or the Americans would call it cookie, of course. But it really reminds me of, you know, the biscuits, the McVitie's digestive biscuits that we would eat. There's a little bit of that in there. And yeah, the fruity notes to this one are interesting as well. But let's start with the hops then. So in the back corners of the palate, I think there's a teeny little bit of earthiness there. As you come further forward, there's a nice little bit of a spicy, floral aromatic note to this one. That comes up just towards the front corners of your palate. Then round the very front curve of the tongue, you get a little bit of that lighter kind of grassy sort of thing that you would expect of the hops. And behind the front curve of your palate, of course, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters start to push their way out of the beer. And yeah, this one, the fruity notes in this are quite interesting. I think there's a bit of passion fruit to this one, and it starts off with kind of a slightly darker tropical fruit note, but then as you kind of move further and further into it, it just lightens up a little bit. I think there is a little bit of lime in there at the end. Like, I was picking up lime in the aroma, and you can definitely pick up a little bit of a limey quality in the aftertaste of this one particularly. It's got a good little bit of a lemony quality to it as well. So yeah, passion fruit, a little bit of a kind of limey note. Yeah, lemon limey note. There is a little bit of an apricot note as you come towards the very front part of your palate. There is a little bit of an apricot note in there. It almost has a little bit of an orangey kind of note to it. I'm wondering if there's a little bit of mosaic in here, because there's almost, the flavours that are coming out of this one, it's got a little bit of that orangey tangerine sort of thing, which is interesting. Then I'm getting a little bit of blueberry on the tip of the tongue, and it just, there's something in there that's making me think mosaic, which is really interesting. But yeah, there is a little bit of that apricot-y flavour as well. So as I say, passion fruit forming the base, a little bit of apricot on top. I think as you go further into the aftertaste, it becomes a little bit tangerine and orangey, but on the very tip of the palate as well, a little bit of blueberry, but also a little bit of a kind of lemon limey presence as well, which is really interesting too. But yeah, it's an interesting beer, this one. as I say, it would be nice to drink it a little bit fresher than it is, because it's been in the bottle about 2 months or so. So you do, it does have to mature in the bottle right enough, which is fair. But I think if it's saying it's August, it should have been ready. If I'm remembering a wheat beer, you have to age it for about 6 weeks or so. But usually, yeah, you want to drink this within about a month of its mature date, and that's one of the things. I don't know whether the date they'll have put on this will be when it was actually bottled or when it's ready to be drank, if that makes sense, because usually you do put the beers in the bottle and let them mature a little bit before they get sent out. That's of course if they're bottle conditioned or not. This one did have a little bit of sediment in it, and usually that's a sign of bottle conditioning. But yeah, no, this one, that might just be the wheat that's kind of sedimented out of it with the cold. So yeah, I don't think this one is bottle conditioned actually, but yeah, you should drink this beer within a month of being in the bottle. So that is one of the things. It's not quite in its prime, I would say, but even as it stands, it's a solid wheat beer, this one. It's got some interesting fruity qualities. It's not, obviously, it's a bit different from the New England IPAs and stuff like that, not quite as juicy, but if you like a German Hefeweizen but want it to be a bit more hoppy, the American wheat is a good style for you to go for. And we don't get to drink too many of these in Europe. That's the thing, you don't get all that many American wheats. We either get the German Weizens or we get the American New England IPAs or the American West Coast IPAs, although the New England ones seem to be taken over a little bit, which is a shame because I do miss the West Coast ones as well. But overall, this is a nice beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink it again, but I would love to try it just a little bit fresher than it actually is. In terms of the mouthfeel, mid-bodied, carbonation's quite smooth. It's got a good little bit of oily character to it, this one. Nice little bit of, I would say nice little bit of hoppy bitterness to the beer. It's not going to blow your head off in terms of IBUs by any stretch of the imagination, but nice little bit of hoppy bitterness. Malt base has a good balance between smoothness and sweetness, and you've got a lot of nice kind of juicy, fruity quality in there as well. So overall, a nice beer. As I say, I do wish we got more of these American wheats in Europe because it's an interesting style, and if you have got any recommendations within that American wheat style, do let me know. I'd be very curious to see if I can get a hold of some more of them. But yeah, interesting beer. I've enjoyed my first review from Avery Brewing Company, so hopefully I can do a few more in the near future. But let's leave it at that for this one. So this one was the Wheat Ease, an American wheat ale at 6% ABV from Avery Brewing Company over in Boulder in Colorado. A really an interesting beer, this one, and I'm glad that I got to review it. So once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Check out my social media. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Avery Brewing Company as well. Do give me some recommendations of American wheat beers as well. But I will catch you guys very soon. We'll return to Avery at some point in the near future and yeah, drink some nice beers. Until the next time, stand just now, and I'll catch you guys later. Skål.